Hi guys, good evening. Welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video I'll be discussing what I thought of that very good episode of AMC's The Walking Dead, which premiered just a few short minutes ago. I just got done watching it. I really enjoyed it for a number of reasons. Now, before I get into all of that, please be warned, of course, that this video will be full of spoilers, as per usual with all my Walking Dead episode reviews. So if you are not caught up on The Walking Dead by this episode or the past couple episodes, do not keep watching and listening, as I will be going into spoilers. If you are caught up, please keep watching and listening, as I hope you find what I have to say entertaining and somewhat informative. So, you have been warned. That being said, spoilers from here on out. I really enjoyed this episode, mainly because I enjoyed seeing Negan's world slowly falling apart. I loved seeing him angry with his own lieutenants, losing his temper, and I loved seeing his own lieutenants argue with one another about what to do in this dire situation. You know, I think what was so satisfying about it is that these people have been such pricks and bullies to our beloved characters all of last season, and to see them in the shit when they're the ones having their asses handed to them is very satisfying, because it's like the bullies are getting what they deserve, you know, with the exception of Dwight, of course. But, you know, it's just very satisfying to see Negan becoming unhinged, unnerved especially, and, you know, opening up to Gabriel. And I love how Gabriel kind of turns the tables while they're stuck in the trailer together. That opening scene alone, like, he goes from fearful and, uncertain to confident and fearless almost, because he kind of gives Negan a smirk and says, "I think I'm here to hear your confession," and then smiles, cut to opening credits. I mean, I'm like, damn, Gabriel's become a badass, or at least he's become a way more stronger character than he ever once was. I mean, that's pretty ballsy. I mean, this guy is looking Negan right in the face, who's holding Lucille, and, you know, he's just keeping his cool, and he's unnerving the son of a bitch. You know, he was saying all the right words, you know, all the right things to get Negan to drop his guard. Oh, God, and it was really funny to watch Negan trying not to lose his cool, holding Lucille, asking her to give him strength. He's like, "Lucille, give me strength," while Gabriel is taunting him, and he taunts him in a way where he's not using a taunting, intimidating voice, but he is getting under his skin. And even though he failed to kill him, I'm not sure if that was his intention or not, but I do love how it worked out. I liked how they realized that they both need each other in order to get out of this situation. And it was working up to a certain extent right before the walkers started trying to bite at them. You know what else I liked about this episode is that we've seen Negan have some close calls with individual walkers, but I think this is the first time we've seen him in the middle of a thick, big herd like that. Like, this is the first time we've seen Negan take on a pretty good, decent-sized herd of walkers, and using Lucille to fend them off and whatnot. So I thought that was pretty cool, seeing Negan fight off the walkers. And then he was also familiar with the tactic of smearing yourself in walker guts to disguise your scent and to save your own skin. So I'm curious if he found that out on his own, like before he became Negan. But I also loved the little backstory we got. We learned a little bit about him, that he was cheating on his wife, who was apparently very sick before the apocalypse. Whether she had cancer or some kind of terminal disease, she was sick and he was out screwing around. And then when she turned, he could not bring himself to put her down. Much like Morgan back in season 1 with his wife, how he could not bring himself to kill his beloved undead wife. So it sounds like Negan went through something similar. And I just hope this is the tip of the iceberg, because I would personally love to see more backstory, more information on Negan, like before reaching the sanctuary. Because he even told Gabriel that little story about how before he arrived at the sanctuary, the guy who was running it wasn't running shit, how it was a free-for-all. It was disorganized, people were undisciplined and crap like that. And then when he arrived and took over, everything changed. And I liked his little analogy or metaphor, like, well, you know, I've got my weaknesses and my strengths, and my strength is helping people learn their weaknesses and teaching them how not to be weak. But then that also kind of flip-flopped on him as well. Because I wouldn't say it was a vulnerability, but Negan, like, confessing to Gabriel was showing us that this guy might be a monster, but he wasn't always a monster, or I don't think he was always this way. And hopefully we'll learn more about that this season, or maybe we'll get more of it next season. But this was a great episode. This was a great Negan episode. I really enjoyed Simon in this episode. Simon's one of my new favorite characters, and this was a great Simon episode. And I loved seeing Simon for the first time, I think, since we've seen these two characters. This is the first time we've ever seen Simon scared of Negan. Because when Negan slams Lucille on the table and interrupts Simon when he's trying to talk or make his pitch, it shuts Simon up and it makes him kind of jump a little bit, and then he kind of even looks down like, yes sir, you know, because he's like frightened of his boss. So it's good to know that Simon is indeed very much capable of being scared and feeling things like anger and fear and whatnot. Despite the confident, intimidating show he puts on, he is still very much a fearful man. And I liked that. I liked seeing that. I liked seeing how the Savior's world is slowly starting to crumble in on them. And I also loved how we got to see the workers build up some of their confidence and work up the courage to confront the Saviors for at least a few short moments before Negan reappeared again. But I liked that. And I liked how they revealed that one guy, like the main guy who was confronting Simon in the gray shirt. He was confronting Simon about the power, or if Negan was dead or not. I'm like, oh, I thought this guy was one of Negan's soldiers, because he seems like a big, strong guy, so I thought he was one of the Saviors, but he was just a worker. And I'm like, there's a lot more workers than I realized. And that was the one thing that did confuse me a little bit about this episode, if I had one complaint. And it's not really a complaint, but more of an observation. It feels like the only Saviors currently at the sanctuary are Negan and his immediate lieutenants, you know, Simon, Regina, Dwight, and Gavin. It's like it's only him and those guys, and everybody else is a worker, and then the workers' families are there as well. So where are all the rest of the Saviors? Like, right after last season, during the season finale, when they do that big reveal shot panning out, revealing all of the Saviors, or Negan's like, we are going to war, and there's at least a couple hundred Saviors, nearly all of them men. It felt like there was like a couple hundred guys there. So has Negan divided his forces at each and every outpost? Or were there more Saviors on the premise, but we just didn't see or couldn't see them all? Although that one blonde woman was there, the one who came in during the meeting and warned the other Saviors about the workers coming up the stairs and getting antsy. So she was there, and she's not a lieutenant, she's just a Savior. And Arat was there as well. I don't think she's a lieutenant, but she's definitely one of the foot soldiers. So maybe they were there and we just didn't see them all. And the sanctuary is an awfully big place to hold that many people, so they're probably just hiding out in their own rooms as well. But I'm curious as to see how long it's going to be until things start to really fall apart at the sanctuary, because even Negan tells Eugene, I'm going to kill you to save you the trouble of seeing all of the horrific things that are going to happen when we run out of food, water, and power. It's like not even Negan and his people will be able to keep the workers under control, and then it'll be true pandemonium. And even if none of that happens, it's only a matter of time before those walkers lean in with all their weight and they get inside the main compound. So we shall see. But this was a great episode. I loved Negan's little backstory. I loved seeing Gabriel being confident and poised and unnerving possibly the most evil character this show has ever had. How he unnerved and rattled him and really got under his skin. And I love seeing the Saviors becoming unhinged as well. You know, like I said, it couldn't be happening to people who deserve it more. You know what I mean. So this was a great episode. It was a little troubling to see Rick and Daryl go at it, but I guess it kind of makes sense because if Daryl is so pent up with rage and with revenge on his mind, he's not going to be thinking straight. I think it'll be a matter of time before he comes back around and realizes they got to stick to the plan, or maybe he'll go all out rogue and try to take out as many saviors as he can. Now, what I'm curious about is, was that helicopter that Rick saw a hallucination or real? And if it was real, does it belong to the scavengers? Do they secretly have a helicopter and a landing pad amongst the heaps, their big garbage junkyard land? I mean, is there a helicopter they keep hidden over there? Because that guy we saw in the body armor who saw Rick approaching, I believe, was a scavenger. So I'm curious if the helicopter was real or not, and if it is real, does it belong to the scavengers? So we shall see. But this was a great episode. Overall, another solid episode. This season has really got my blood pumping in the best way possible, and I absolutely love it. So, what did you guys think of tonight's episode? Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you kind of meh about it, or were you like, whoa, or something like that? Please leave your thoughts, opinions, and your feedback down below in the comments section. I'd love to hear from everybody. As usual, of course, we are all entitled to our own opinions. That's fine, but you may disagree with one another, of course, but please keep it civil and be respectful of one another's beliefs and opinions, of course. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button as we continue to follow along with brand new episodes of The Walking Dead every Sunday night on AMC. Only 3 episodes left of the first half of this season. Don't miss it. And that's all, guys. Have a great rest of the night. Thanks for watching. And, of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.